All right, so one of the questions we get asked a lot is proper ergonomics at your workstation, how you can function better while you're in your office space where maybe you don't have an option or your employer or boss doesn't want to pay for that very, very expensive ergonomic chair. And so I found a couple solutions for this, but first things first is what is proper posture and how do you sit properly at your workstation without causing more back, hip problems, shoulder, neck problems. One of the things that we start with is just, first of all, the natural curvatures in the spine that every one of us is supposed to have. And that starts with this lower back curvature, which arcs backwards in, we call it extension. That's kind of this bending backwards direction. Upper back starts to lean a little bit more forward, and then neck also leans somewhat backwards. And the reason why we have this natural curvature is it spreads out the load on all of the joints here, the bones in the front, the joints in the back, and if we're evenly spaced with the pressure on those bones, you don't get a bunch of wear and tear like we see on the x-rays. You know, if you're slouching all the time in your chair, and I've got a little lumbar cushion behind me on this one, but if I don't have this and I'm sitting in kind of your standard office chair, I can try and sit up straight, but eventually I'm going to get tired. And what most people end up doing is they start to let their back drop like this. And the problem with this is as soon as that happens, you shift all your pressure on the front of the bones here, and then you're pushing your head and shoulders forward. So you can even just see it if I exaggerate a little bit. My shoulder goes forward, and now my neck is going to be pinched as well. So sometimes you actually feel the neck and shoulders before you notice the lower back in these scenarios. So I encourage a lot of people to look at, first off, how to better support their lower back in the first place. One of the simplest things is, and I actually did a very similar thing where I had a chair like this that was pretty comfortable, had a good cushion and everything, and you could change the angles and everything in it. And then I grabbed something like this. This is one of our lumbar cushions that we have in our office. What I like about it is that it conforms to the rib cage this way, and then it has a natural kind of curve that mimics natural curvature of the spine, so that when you're sitting, your lower back is supported properly. And you can see even the difference here. If I'm sitting, and this is me just completely relaxed, I'm not exaggerating or anything, my back is actually curved. If you could see behind the shirt here, you can see that I'm slouching. As soon as I get something like this, and I kind of scoot back a little bit, you may have to play around with the exact position that's most comfortable for you, but if I now have that cushion there, this is actually me in a relaxed position, and you can see how in this position my shoulders, ear, and hip are all lined up, and that's also a good way to figure out if you're in alignment or if you're off balance, because as soon as I take it away again, my shoulder and ear now are going forward of my hip joint, and eventually that's going to cause a lot of stress on the ligaments, the muscles, the tissues in the hip joints, the back joints, as well as the shoulder and neck joint. So something like this, you can actually just stick behind your chair, and all of a sudden changes kind of just an average chair to something that's very functional and something you can use. And I actually like these so much that I eventually got one not just for my computer chair at home, but also for my car, because the car seat is another place where a lot of people start to slouch. So when you see people driving like this in the steering wheel, that's not good posture, right? So this is a very simple tool. We have them in our office. I've been using them for years, and it helped me a lot be able to drive. You know, I'll bring on the airplane sometimes as well, sitting in my chair, and I think it's a great tool for everybody else to use as well. Pick them up today.